Good morning, Carolina. I'm Calista Pushman.
And I'm Kronsberg. We're back, but for the final time this spring.
Now, we've been here every week, keeping you up to date on what's happening on the USC campus and around Columbia.
This week on the show, ask not what your planet can do for you, but how you can celebrate the planet.
And a chance to watch a movie in a hollowed and unorthodox location.
Finally, time has come for us to give our final rants this semester. You won't want to miss them. Good morning, Calista. Now, the semester is winding down. It's a great opportunity for us to give back to the planet. So how can we do that right here on campus?
Yes, of course. So today is Earth Day, and Carolina Productions is hosting an event to build your own succulents. So grab a free tote bag and more on Davis Field from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Succulents in a tote bag, like target audience reach.
They know their target audience.
They know what's
Davis
up.
Field, 11 a.m. every Friday. They're hitting the target audience, and it's Earth Day. So it works pretty well. Love a good succulent. I got one at the beginning of the semester. I managed to die.
I was going to say, how's it doing?
I managed to kill a succulent.
Yeah, those are the hardest plants to kill, Will.
Well, I put it in my window, and then I left it in my window. Anyway.
Take notes, guys. Don't do that.
Anyway, this weekend, starting tonight, is Artista Vista. It starts with the Art Gallery Crawl tonight, Art Day tomorrow, and then Crafty Fest on Sunday. So a full weekend of events, and then that finishes up 5 p.m. on Sunday with the Live on Lincoln concerts. A great weekend of experiencing art right here in Columbia, just a few blocks away. So lots of fun.
I heard Crafty Fest and got really excited. That sounds so fun. You know, it's a nice chance to, as we're winding down in the end of the semester, it'd be fun to, get that energy out on something fun.
Start your day with Carolina Calendar.
Start your day with Carolina Calendar.
Then celebrate Earth Day. Then head to the Vista for some artsy stuff.
What's better than that? Well, actually, maybe this. So, Flick on the Field this semester will be screening Spider-Man No Way Home at Willie B on Monday. So, gates open at 6:30. The festivities start at 7:30, and the movie will be at 8. Now, it will be free with a Carolina card. Free. And the weather is forecasted as a high probability of a sandstorm. So, I love that movie. Saw it in theaters, cheered the whole way through, laughed, cried, all that jazz. I cannot imagine watching it at Willie B. It sounds fantastic.
At Willie B, on the big screen, 80,000 seat stadium. And as one of our former colleagues who's about to graduate would say, it's free 99.
Stop. So please, you can't miss out on something like that.
Absolutely. And then finishing things up, actually going back to an event that we talked about last week, something that happened this week. Sir Elton John performed over in Colonial Life Arena on Wednesday, a stop on his Farewell Yellow Brick Road tour that's seemingly been going on for 5 years. Probably going to go on for 5 more. He just can't quite say goodbye.
He can't get enough of us.
But Calista, what's the latest development in this concert? Why are we talking about it again?
Oh, the latest development is your 2 favorite anchors over at Carolina Calendar, SGTV, all that jazz. We were there. It was on a whim. I give all props to Alona Donovan, our public relations director. In the office, just on a whim, she was like, guys, there's a whole row of floor seats open, and it's affordable. Which, actually, we talked about the price on the show. Yeah, relatively speaking, And impulsively, myself, Will, Zane Heinlein over, rolling prompter back there. Shout out to Zane and Riley, our producers. Zane was there. Brooke McDermott, another one of our lovely SGTV staffers, we all just decided, you know what? Let's go see Elton John. Tears were shed, voices were lost. Phenomenal time. It's
almost a miracle that we're here today speaking in our normal voices because it was a blast.
We could have had a repeat of this Tyler the Creator post that concert show, which thankfully, my vocal cords are doing okay. But yeah. Definitely, thoughts on the concert?
It was amazing. It's Elton John. He got up after every song and he's like, yeah, clap. He started pointing in the crowd. He's like, I'm Elton John.
Yeah.
But you know what? He deserves that, 120%.
Oh my God, it was wholesome. Like if it was anybody else, it could have been a little much, but because it was him, I was like, yeah, you get it, King. Like, it was perfect.
And he showed some clips from the Rocket Man movie.
It was just a flex of how successful he is, and again, well deserved. Well, coming up, a deeper dive into an important story we covered last week. Stay close.
Welcome back. Last week we discussed Carolina Productions and Iris's annual Birdcage drag show. But for a look at how it responded to upstate critics, we go to the crew of SGTV Entertainment's The Buzz.
Students lined up and scanned their Carolina cards to get into U of SC's annual drag show, Birdcage.
This is the 24th time Iris, Gamecock Entertainment, and Carolina Productions have held the campus-wide event.
Spirits were high as students waited for the queens and kings to take to the stage, and when they did,
the headliner and host of the night was Pheromone, and sharing the evening spotlight were local queens and kings. Ebony Wood, Gouda Judy, Veronica LeBlanc, Anya DeVore, Oliver Closeoff, Medusa Chaos, Paris LaFerris, and DeRay Saunders.
it was hard to ignore the positive energy in the room as the audience laughed, cheered, and waved through the performances.
Afterwards, Alona Donovan and Zane Heinlein asked students what they thought of the show.
What was your most jaw-dropping moment?
When Veronica took off her bra, because I want to do that all the time, so.
I don't really have a favorite. I loved all the shows. They were all unique in their own ways, and I loved it.
The queen that did all of the Lizzo, love her. She was so great. Also, shout out to the queen who also did a bunch of Rihanna. That reminded me of listening to a lot of Rihanna as a kid. It was awesome.
But the show is more than just love for Lizzo and Rihanna. Calista Pushman spoke to Ebony Wood about the role shows like this play in representing the LGBTQ community.
It's, we've seen an increase over the past few years in LGBTQ representation, and sometimes we feel like we're getting in a really cool, safe spot, and I think USC is definitely doing a lot to get there. But we just saw at another university in South Carolina where they put on a drag show, and there was a student organization that put out a really awful letter damning the drag show.
That other university was Clemson. Clemson College Republicans put out an official statement on Instagram condemning Clemson's version of Birdcage hosted by Tiger Live. In the statement, they said that the show, quote, spits in the face of the Christian population that currently attends Clemson University. They argued that it alienates the conservative population at Clemson and does nothing to bolster campus pride. Despite such a negative review, students at both U of SC and Clemson were quick to strike back, dropping nearly 7,000 comments under their initial statement.
Clemson students also held a protest titled the Take Back Pride March in response to the viral post.
With so much support from students, it's clear that campus pride events like drag shows are here to stay.
Because in the end, events like this are about visibility, not politics. Reporting for SGTV News 4 Entertainment, this has been the crew from The Buzz. Now, as members, I guess, of the crew of The Buzz, heard some familiar voices there. This was just a phenomenal story to cover. This was definitely a passion project for me, and having a crew that was so supportive of covering an event like this in the way that we did, taking it from being this really fun, fantastic event celebrating such a fantastic community and tying it into the events that went down at Clemson. It was nice both shedding positivity on such an important issue, but also holding that group accountable.
Absolutely. First we talk about this show and everything that it was. And on its own, amazing. There were really some great kings and queens in that show. A lot to appreciate for, like I mentioned last week, the first drag show that I've ever been to. And then you look at some of those interviewees, interviewing Ebony Wood about what happened at Clemson, and also how the Clemson community has responded. Not to take away from that, there's been pretty solid and wide support for their Tiger Live show as well after that statement came out. So I just think that you don't want to say we learned so much from this experience, but I think it was a good growing point for the community.
No, I definitely agree, and especially getting to actually talk. And you mentioned talking to Ebony Wood, getting to talk to these queens, the kindest people that you could possibly talk to, and it was definitely wonderful, digging through each corner of that developing story, and it was nice to just get out such a good package for it.
Yeah, for sure, and great coverage by you, by Alona and Zane, and really everybody who helped out with that. Me behind the camera, but that's not important.
Yes, it is.
Okay. After the break, a look at your weekend weather and some concluding thoughts from your favorite Friday morning friends. April showers bring May flowers, but what if the end of April is as dry as a bone?
8 of the last 9 days of April are looking dry and sunny in the famously hot South Carolina Midlands, though an umbrella could serve you well on Tuesday when there is like a 60% chance of showers.
With that talk about what it will look like outside out of the way, let's pivot to the final edition of Will and Calista. Each talk about one thing to talk about some very different types of appearances. And as you may have noticed, my hands. They're pink and black. And this started when we went to the Elton John concert on Wednesday. I was wearing a pink and black sweatshirt. It blended in really well. It actually started like last summer when I first started doing this. I hadn't done it much during the school year. But the bigger story here is that like, this is such a story. It's really not a big deal. But over the past 36 hours, a lot of people have made comments to me about my hands. And I get it, but I don't really get it. And then like, I felt myself unconsciously, like I was wearing a hoodie yesterday, I had like my hands.
I actually noticed that, I was gonna say something.
I was sitting in class, I had my hands in my pockets a lot. And then I was on a virtual medical appointment, and it was mentioned to me, not in like a mean way actually. It was very supportive and a very good talk, but I just think there's such an unnecessary stigma around just the tiniest things.
You know, I agree. Like, it's just making your nails a fun color. Like, it should just be like an, oh, cool. You know?
Yeah.
Like, not like a big, like, oh my God, Will Kronsberg, breaking news. Will painted his nails, which they look fantastic.
Thank you.
I don't know if I said that yet, but.
I appreciate it.
Chef's kiss. And they did match the crew neck very well, which I had to mention, the SGTV crew neck. Yeah, pretty cool. But in speaking about appearance things that really just shouldn't be that deep, my like little rant today is about tattoos, and this is one of the first like usually for like entertainment programs I'm usually like kind of like I'll let like the tattoos come out, let the tattoos shine. But since we're here for News 4, like I usually keep it professional, which I throwing back to another rant that I had. I always have long sleeves on, I have a turtleneck, I have some sort of thing that's covering up my tattoos. I've used rings to cover up this one. And it's just something that I'm like, why do we care that much about it? I mean, it's a silly little dandelion. Like, it just feels very like unnecessary. And I am grateful that we are in a time where things like painting our nails and like expressing ourselves with tattoos is something that's like more widely accepted, but there's still so much progress to be made, I feel, for these just forms of self-expression.
Self-expression is so important, and I know it's like a cliche, like, oh, in 2022, we shouldn't be dealing with this anymore. But in 2022, we shouldn't be dealing with this anymore.
Yeah.
It's such I think a tiny thing, because my fingers being pink and you having a tattoo on your arm, that affects nobody but me and you. And I don't see why it's important that other people like get so invested in individuals' business, for one. And two, your tattoos, they look amazing. So why any criticism?
And they're very special to me. I mean, like, I had all my family members drew these out, and because of me being from Pennsylvania and us being in South Carolina, like, I'm always away from them. So it's kind of my way of staying close to these people that I love. And not that tattoos need meaning. I mean, this really, as pretty as it is, doesn't really have much meaning besides I got impulsive at LBI one day and said, I'm going to get a tattoo. But like, regardless, like, it really is just one of those things that I'm like, guys, calm down.
I mean, for the first year or so that I was in college, I wore like a little bracelet that was my high school colors. One, kind of stay connected to that, especially after the early departure because of COVID, but also because my brother helped make it. So that was a really big part of it. Just staying close to him, my first time, being away from home. And I don't do that as much anymore. I do keep it with me, but I'm not wearing it right now, obviously. But yeah, I just think these little things are so important to the individual and so irrelevant to the grand populace. Well,
on that note,
we wrap up Carolina Calendar for the final time today, April 22nd, 2022.
Now be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at SGTV at USC.
And to keep up with all of our content, be sure to also visit us online at sgtvonline.com. For SGTV News 4, I'm Will Kronsberg.
And I'm Calista Pushman. From all of us here at SGTV, have a great summer, Carolina, forever to be.